Hi, thanks for joining me today. It's been a while since I've recorded a video, and I thought I'd get back into it and just kind of bounce around how I've been doing some single page application stuff. And I've shown this in a lot of presentations around the country over the last year or two, and it's matured over time. And I've still got a few little edge case things and some little cleanup work before I actually publicly release some of these libraries I'm going to kind of walk you through right now. But what I thought I'd do, since I recently launched my blog, my new blog, effectively about a month or so ago, called lovetodev.com. And what I did was I took all my old content from my existing blog done in a community server and ported all the data over. But what I did was I started from scratch and I actually built a single page application with touch, mobility, responsive design, and performance, which is a big deal to me, all in mind to make my new blog. And I wanted it to be kind of a reference application as well, um, so I can kind of show you how to pull off some of these things and tricks. Now, this is my blog, and just to kind of show off with the horizontal scrolling and everything for touch, and I've got big touchable items here and so forth. But what I really want to focus on is kind of how I do some of the single page application stuff, how I make some of the performance work there, and some of the other little tricks that I do. And so if you look at it, here's the main URL down at the bottom. If you glance down there, hopefully you can see that. And it says lovetodev.com slash the pound or the hash bang. And we call that the hash bang. And the reason why I have the hash bang there is because this is a single page application. And since the beginning of time, back in the early 90s, um, to you could set up an anchor on a page and use the hash as the name to actually reference on the page, and that would cause the page to actually move down to where that anchor was with that actual name. And the way we used it back then, especially I know I did it quite a bit because I'd publish articles and stuff when I was in grad school and so forth, and those can get quite lengthy. So you'd put a table of contents. So if you go to W3C spec, since I read those all the time, they'll have a table of contents at the top, and if you click on one of those, it shoots you down to the bottom using a hash. Well, for single page applications and Ajax applications, the kind of unwritten convention is to use hash bang as the way to do that. And this, instead of actually going to the server to get the content, actually stays in the browser without a request back to the server. So effectively, we've killed the traditional request response model. And this gives us a little bit more freedom to make a more modern, more dynamic, user engaging kind of application that rivals and even because it's much easier to do and distribute, is better than, say, native mobile applications, for example, that have really kind of raised the user experience bar. So let's just kind of poke around real quick, and we'll just go with the first article here, and we'll look at that. And let's just break down this URL. Basically, this is a route. And what you're going to have to do with the single page application is have a client-side routing engine. And here is the article. And if you're familiar with like MVC routes and so forth, the concept should be there. For an MVC path, you would just not have the hash bang, and it would go back to the server, for example, right? And and then here's my slug, and that's a parameter. We'll look at how that gets set up here in a minute. Now, if I go to, say, the tags page, and if we look down, you'll see down here at the bottom, we have the tags that change from article just to tags. There's no parameters on this particular one. Now, if I select, say, the MVC list here, again, it's a list of articles, and you can see down here at the bottom, it's hashbang articles, which is the root of my route here, and then the slug is ASP.NET MVC, and that gets passed or parsed in my my client-side engine to actually make sure it has the data it needs to render the page, and if not, it goes back and gets it. We'll get into the Ajax stuff maybe in another video or something like that. But let's just kind of poke around real quick and get the, here's one that's just the calendar, and if I select a date, we're going to go to archive, and then there's a year and a month. Again, the year and the month are parameters. I could easily go down here and change this to June, which would be 06, and voila, we get a totally different list of posts that I made whenever this was, which was probably last summer, it looks like. And then we can just go to the actual article here, and you can see the route is slightly changed. Okay, all right. So how do I do this? Well, let's go look at some of the code here. And what I want to do is I just want to kind of bounce through my SPA library really quick. Now, it's pretty close to being what I consider ready for public release, but there's a few little tightly coupled things I got to get out of there. Mostly it's about writing documentation so that somebody besides me can hopefully sit down and actually digest this in a way that makes it usable to them. With that, here's some kind of interesting methods in here. This is setup routes, and this gets called effectively when the library gets created as a new object. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to loop through the initial DOM looking for views, and we'll look and see what that means here in a minute. And it actually parses their markup and creates a route. We'll store those. We'll store a route list, or effectively a route table, in local storage, and we'll build that dynamically as we need to do. And so here's where I actually set those values into local storage. Now, I love to use local storage to kind of manage my applications because it's supported by every browser that's out there. It's very fast. It doesn't require you having to go back to the server, and it keeps a lot of stuff out of the DOM, which is a very important performance factor. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Now, just real quick, let's just look at the route that I'm creating. I'm giving an ID, the path, any parameters, and parsing those out. The title, which would be the title that it gets set in the title bar. And I'm going to look at the in Chrome here. You can see here's Love to Dev articles. If we actually select that, that changes to a different title. Okay. The transition value, if you notice, that was a little kind of a page flip kind of thing where it kind of flipped over like a card may flip over. That's the standard demo for that. And then I got values. If callback for when it's actually loaded, then make call to get that, and then unload, which I'm got to work on because I didn't really use it and many things yet, but I want to get it in there. And basically I'm just setting or updating the routes as needed here with an identifier on an array, and then of course I'm storing those into local storage. Now, another thing, the next thing I want to bring your attention to here is this escape fragment. Basically, this is so we're more search engine optimized, and basically what we want to do is Google has published some recommendations or kind of a de facto standard so that they can index a single page application site, and they kind of came up with this convention of using a query string parameter with this name, the underscore escaped underscore fragment underscore. Okay, and then basically that value is going to host or be our client-side route, and you need something on the server side to effectively parse that out. I'm not going to get into that today, but I do have that in place, and hopefully I've interpreted their recommendations correctly, and I'm not penalizing myself. But I think I'm doing all right. I'm still seeing pretty good traffic on the blog, so I haven't got hit too much if that's the case. A little bit later we'll look at maybe how to set up the event handler. But basically, there's a hash change event on the window that you can bind an event handler to, and basically in that callback or that pipeline from that event handler, the way I have it set up, it eventually calls this match route method, and basically what it's doing is it's going to look for that route in that table that I kind of showed you how we built, and it's going to return that value, and it's going there, or it's going to go through and parse the parameters so that it returns the stuff that we need to have so that we can actually process and load the view correctly. Here's the method that actually swaps the view. This is more about animations and stuff here, so I'm not really going to get into that too much, but here's where it's matching that route. It's getting the animation from the route. And well, here's something that's kind of cool too. With the Google Analytics, you can dynamically push basically page loads. I'm hesitating to call them pages. I'm trying to break myself from that. They're really views, views of data, whatever you want to call it. We don't really have the concept of pages because it's a single page application. Get it? But anyway, we're basically pushing it, and we're pushing the path, which we've kind of defined up here, and we're pushing that information to Google so they can properly analyze what's going on there. And and here basically I'm adding some classes that have the animations defined as keyframe animations. Getting kind of off track from the point of this. I do have the animation and WebKit animation end here function, and when those actually kick in, which is when a CSS animation ends, these events will get fired, or this event will get fired if it's WebKit, gets fired there. Anyway, we'll call the end swap animation call, and we'll pass in some parameters here. And let's see. Here's one if I don't have the actual route defined, that I'm going to go to a 404. I kind of built that in. Here's where there's the escape fragment URL, and just a little way to clean that up a little bit. Let's see. Here's where we actually make the callback that gets defined. So then that's basically it. Let's go look at one of the views just to kind of see how this works. So let's go look at the home view, since most people will see that. Okay, and here's all the markup that defines our home view. Now I've got, like I said, if it's got the escape fragment, basically if it's needs to actually render the markup from the server side, I just do a very simple thing, and this is what I'm doing here. We're not going to worry about that in this particular thing. Sorry about all these texts coming through. Anyway, here's the home view itself and the class. This is kind of important. I set the main class as content pane, and then I've got a title here that is set. That's actually going to be in the title bar, defining the transition with the flip. As a flip, I've got some other ones that I could use that are defined, like a slide and things like that. And then here's the callback that gets called when the view gets loaded. And I'm working on making the unload happen right now. Like I said, I just haven't had the need to use it yet, so it's not really thoroughly tested out. So, and then here's just the main content. So effectively, for our client side, this is really not going to be rendered at all, and so it's pretty thin. And basically, what happens is I'm using these data dash attributes here, like the callback and such, and I'm going to parse those out in that that route match route method, I believe is what it was. Here we go. Go back up to the top. The setup route, sorry. And here's where I'm getting those attributes, and I'm setting them to parameters, and here's where I'm actually creating the route object. So just to kind of help you connect and glue those together. Now, what I want to do is I want to go here, and this is actually the blog kind of shrunk down, so it's more of a mobile friendly one, but the reason why I did that is so we could actually look at the elements here. Let's just move this off to the side, and here's the main wrapper, but here's the home view, and you can see it's selected over there on the left, kind of with the overlay. And basically what that means is the home view is it's got the content that's actually the home view. It houses that. So there's the list, and there's the actual tiles. If we look at that, you can see that that's the article. I just wanted to do this just so I could have you verify that I'm showing you what I think I'm showing you. So, okay. Now I want you to keep your eye on that's markup selection there, the home view section itself. As we select one of these, what it's going to do is it's going to actually change what you see on this in the markup list there. Watch it. Did you see it? Now there's no home view section. Now there's an article view section. Let's go back to home. I want you to watch it again. What you're going to look for is, once I click this link, we're going to get the home view section injected again up here, and once that animation is complete, the article view section is going to be completely removed from the DOM. Watch. Did you see it? Let's one more time because I like doing it. It's fun. Watch the home view, article view, DOM. There you go. You kind of saw it sync up with the animation ending over here on the left, right? Okay, so why do I do that? Well, you don't want to have a huge DOM at all. There's a lot of performance issues there. Also with the mobile browsers, and I'm looking at you, iPhone, iPad, and a lot of the Androids in particular, and it does seem to be getting better as they mature and the hardware gets better, especially with Android. Um, you will hit memory pressures and cause the browser to effectively crash. And I know this from personal experience because as I first started doing mobile focused web development, I realized that I needed to do single page apps, and I kept throwing all my markup and keeping it in the DOM, and that's not good. So what you want to do is you want to try to minimize as much as possible and remove unnecessary DOM elements from the DOM as much as you possibly can without just overcomplicating stuff. And it's not that hard to do. So basically what my SPA does is in that swap animation thing, when the animation's done, it removes the old stuff. But more importantly, when I first load the application, I'm going to get all those views. In this particular one, I'm getting all the views. Now, if you have a particularly large one, in my experience, I create like a deferred loading thing where I determine like the first page, maybe I'll load like there's 5 second level views from the main home view, and then the rest of them I kind of load as you kind of pilfer through the application, if you will. I've seen some of them where they've had as many as 500-600 views, and you just can't load that in one load because that's several megabytes of just markup DOM elements, and most of it's not going to be used. So rather than just loading that up front, it's better to kind of lazy load it as you kind of anticipate need for it. And that's a little beyond the scope of what I want to show you here today, but I want you to at least be aware of the concept and the technique. Okay, so when I first load this up, the first time all these articles are here, right? And then another thing I want to show you, I also have a list of templates because I use, in this particular case, I'm using Handlebars as a templating engine so I can dynamically build stuff. So all this content and everything, all these, they're all being built from JavaScript templates. And what I do is I actually, on the initial load, I say the initial load, this is like unprimed from the user. I will actually load all that stuff into local storage. So here's like my home view, and if we go look at this, and let's go back over to that little notepad I had set up there. That's the same thing. Good. As you can see, this is a JSON object. If you're familiar with JavaScript, you no doubt know what JSON is. And if you go back to this, we've got a view ID, a path, params, title, so forth. That kind of stuff. Well, actually, let's go back to the actual view. And so you can see there's title, transition, callback, and here's the actual content here, right? It's this markup, which isn't very big for the home view, and that's why this is not terribly out of kilter here so much. But the page ID is home view, and that's the actual element ID, maps to that. And then we have I don't need the URL anymore, that's a deprecated thing on my part. The content is those 2 section elements. And then I got a few things that are just not very common there. There we go. And let's see, there's the title, the transition is flip, just some basic stuff. The main thing is that the content is here, and then I'm going to pull this in and out as I need it. And I'm actually going to load it using my SPA and everything. So anyway, another thing I wanted to show you over here in this is my templates. Oh, sorry. Let's just load these this way. Now this is going to be really hard to read, I know, but hang with me. Basically, here's the article details template, and then this is the markup in there. And if you, I'm not going to go into handlebars today, but if you get into stuff like templating, things like that, this will make sense to you. But this is basically just the markup here for the template, and then I got another template defined below that. And I've got a little infrastructure in place to kind of manage these in and out of storage. Basically, what I'm going to do, because you can compile handlebars templates, and I'm actually going to compile those on when the application is loaded by the browser, and that way I don't have to worry about reading them in and out of the local storage very much, and they shouldn't take up too much memory. Now, if you do have a huge application, then memory concerns come into play, and you need a little different strategy for that. You will probably need to manage offloading and loading them in and out of local storage on demand, and you may want to look at it a little more granular control. At that point, I would probably recommend going into IndexedDB, just because you're going to have a little better querying engine for everything. So let's go look at one of these templates in here. Well, all of them actually. Here we go. They're kind of sorted alphabetically, but let's just look at this one. Basically, they're script elements, and I've got a type. In this case, I'm using the X handlebars template. It's just a way to make the script not blocking. It tells the browser this is a script block, but it's not a JavaScript block, so don't block it. Because if you have a regular JavaScript block, the browser stops everything it's doing to parse the JavaScript in that script tag. So you don't want to have that many script tags or scripts actually in your web page to begin with, because that slows everything down. And by doing this, you're telling it this is not really a script, so don't just keep going, and it does. And then you can come back and you can parse and get the content out, which is what I do. Now let's just look real quick, and I'm not going to go into terrible detail here with the actual markup itself. But I just kind of want to show you a few things that are going on here. Okay, here's the headers. Okay, well, here's one thing that I do. This is the escape fragment piece here. Here we go. Basically, I've got a little check to see if there's an escape fragment or not with the used in the URL. Basically, I'm making sure that it's coming in on the SPA using the hash bang. If it's the escape fragment, that means it's a search engine spider, and I'm going to use the stuff that we kind of ran through really quick. Or it's in what I consider an obsolete browser, which is basically IE8 and below. And I'm probably going to add IE9 to that list in the near future, because honestly, with IE11 coming out in October, you really shouldn't be using anything below IE11 at that point. IE10 right now, and I realize a lot of you are rolling your eyes, but you're really doing yourself a disservice. Your IT department's doing yourself a disservice. There's a lot to that, but I'm not going to get into that today. But basically what we're doing here is we're checking to see when was the last time the user actually loaded the page. And I actually set a little cookie. This is the only thing I use for cookie unless you're using authentication. I don't like to use cookies anymore because they're heavy. And if we go back and we look at the actual cookies, there it is. And basically what I'm doing is I'm storing ticks for the time value, and then I want to do a little comparison to the ticks of when they actually loaded the last time they loaded the page compared to this time. And because I'm going to loop through every single one of the actual views, and what we're going to do is, here we go, this is a good one. For the home view for this example, it's actually going to give me the last time the file was changed, and if it's changed since the last time they loaded the thing, then I'm actually going to render that in to the markup. And then my SPA engine is going to come along, it's going to see the new or updated version of the view, and it's going to put that into the local storage, and it's effectively going to be available, and it's going to be available in its newest format, basically, which is really nice. And then one of the reasons why I do this is because I could do the offline manifest stuff to do that. The problem is that forces the user to have to manually reload everything, and that's pretty ugly. The other thing too is, if for some reason I actually wanted to, say, phone gap the thing and make it a native mobile application, not necessarily my recommendation anymore, then I could totally do that. I can kind of bypass a lot of the App Store update processes and procedures, which are really just lame and stupid and get in your way. So I've got complete control over the application. And now, even if they're online, then duh, they're going to get the newest thing. So let's just go ahead and use the newest thing. I don't need to ask them to do that manually and say, look, I've got a new version. Want to get the new version? Reload the page. Well, that's kind of silly. So later here we can just do this dynamically. Happens instantaneously, and I haven't found any issues with trying to do the old thing and the new thing yet. I'm sure there's going to be some edge case I'll eventually hit, and we'll deal with that when we get to it. But I'm going to do that for every single one of the views. Okay, and get down here to the bottom. We'll see the should have the templates down here somewhere. They're down there somewhere. Anyway. Somewhere in that mess is the templates. There it is, the presentation template and stuff. But anyway, so that's kind of a quick run through of this. I know it doesn't necessarily make sense to everybody right now, but I've gotten pretty decent feedback on this doing presentations. I just haven't had the time to sit down and just kind of bang out a blog post on this, and so I thought maybe recording a video would be a good way to kind of get into it and just kind of share it with you and everything. Feel free to comment in the section below, and or you can ping me via Twitter. It's at Chris Love. It's another great way to kind of interact with me, and I'd love to talk to you about all this. I love doing single page applications. I think they're fantastic. It's a whole new world for us to enter. But it's a different mindset. It's not as hard as people think it is, but it does require shedding a lot of traditional techniques and methodologies, as those have become outdated effectively. So with that, let's wrap this up, and maybe I'll talk to you in the next few weeks. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for watching this video. Please share it with your friends and followers. Also remember to subscribe to the Love to Dev channel for future video updates.